So today we're going to look at the pre-propulsive stage of the swimming stroke and the catch in particular. Quite often swim coaches will look at doing things around a catch masterclass and spend a lot of time focusing on the catch, whereas actually in reality it's unrecognised really in terms of the main part of propulsion, because all it does is set you up. So we'll look at that setup phase here. Now the good thing about doing this on a dry land environment like we are now is you can actually really focus on the movement and where you want to try and get to, and how you want to try and move as well. So let's think about this catch position first and foremost. The first thing we're going to think about is what our hand's doing out in front. Okay, so often we think about the hand coming in there and then we lose it because it's ahead of our head and we can't really see it. So from this lovely standing position we can actually see what's happening. Clearly if you're swimming, that position wouldn't quite work, you're going to be somewhere over there. But let's just bring it right down to here so we can actually keep an eye on what's happening. So we've already been working quite nicely on really increasing that range of motion. We did the side stretch thing to really push down there and increase our internal rotation of our shoulder. We continue doing that. The more you do that, the easier you're going to find the catch position, the catch setup as well. So keep on coming back to that good stretch throughout and whenever you can. We're going to look into improving our internal shoulder rotation. So with our internal shoulder rotation, that's what's going to allow us to get from this position here into a nice catch position. So it's that ability to remove your shoulder through here. A really good test is when you look at good swimmers, you're going to see them from this position, and I don't count myself as a good swimmer, but the flexibility keeps on going all the way around. So you get to a point where you can't move much further, and you'll find that actually you can keep on going, and the shoulders stay almost controlled in that position, and they can go all the way down without that shoulder moving forwards. So if you can improve that rotation there, from that position, you can get to a better catch position because it's higher, you can be longer through the stroke because you can pull further through as well. As opposed to if you go to a catch position down here, you've got less distance than if someone can get into that catch position over there. But that needs to have internal rotation of the shoulder. Without it, you're going to struggle to be able to deliver a long and effective stroke. So we're going to look at trying to improve that one. What you need to do is you need to get nicely into a nice lying down position like this. You can do this watching the TV anytime you want. If you want to put a pillow just here, you can. I'm going to try and look at you guys. Bring your hip all the way through so your pelvis is in a slightly backwards tilting position, and you're going to get your hand up to this position here. You're going to rotate it to wherever you feel comfortable, and that's as far as you're happy going. You're going to breathe in, breathe out, and you're just going to push this down a little bit further. Just hold it for about 30 seconds or about 3 or 4 breaths. And as you're holding it, just hold the position there and breathe in. And then just give it a little bit more of a push at the end, get a little bit more rotation. Notice I'm making sure that my shoulders are nicely in a good position. I'm engaged with my core. And I'm not kind of slopping through or anything like this. I'm actually still in quite a positive position. So there we go. We're going to come back a little bit, and we're just going to now push with this hand in that direction. So you're going to push up for a count of 20 and resist that motion. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and relax, and you should find that the mobility goes a little bit further. You can push on the forearm to make sure the rotation is coming, the movement's coming from the arm, not the wrist. Depends how much reliever you want to have, and then relax. You'll notice now my mobility has already gone a lot further than before. I've not done this more times. Do this 3 times through on each side and improve the internal shoulder rotation to help yourselves get into a better catch position. But let's think a little bit more about this this catch setup. So the hand's going to go out in front of you just there. The first thing I'm going to have a look at is, where is your palm? Is your palm pointing downwards, or is your palm pointing across, or is it pointing there? So you've got what's called a thumb entry. When you start looking at your palm, I want you to then try and keep the rest of your arm totally still, and then just rotate your palm and see how easy it is to do that. Can you keep your arm pretty much totally still whilst just rotating the palm? So with all good swimming technique, as the hand comes into that position, the palm should be pointing down. And actually from that position there, pulling all the way through, the palm doesn't actually rotate or anything like that through as well. So it stays in the same position throughout. So when we look at that nice palm position, now let's look a bit further up to the elbow. So the elbow, if you're traditionally swimming well, will actually be pointing right out on top. So it's actually pointing up and out. If you imagine that you've got 12 o'clock down the middle, you're going to have, obviously the other way around for you guys, you're going to have a 2 o'clock and a 10 o'clock position. And that's where you want your elbows to be pointing upwards and slightly out. If you find yourself with your elbow underneath and pointing downwards, then you've basically locked out your arm. And it's very, very difficult to get into a good swimming catch position if your elbow is in that position. So, when you think about this elbow position now, let's try and get it so we're rotating. Sometimes it's helpful, you put your hand on top of a surface, this could be the side of something or whatever, and just have a play around. We're trying to see how easy it is to move your elbow around as well. You'll notice that my palm's actually staying totally flat on top, as it would do in the water. From that position there, my palm is staying still, and I'm moving my elbow on top. So suddenly, we're in this position, which you'd sort of recognise as a fairly standard catch position. If you look at it from the side, again, in this position here, you see the lovely kind of curvature. Coaches often talk about, you can see the fingertips below the wrist, below the elbow, below the shoulder. So we've got that nice position. All we end up doing to make it a good swimming position is bringing it to that position there. Again, elbow on top. So throughout all of these exercises, really focus on where is that elbow pointing and make sure that it's pointing on top throughout, and you'll find it makes it a lot easier. So from that position with the elbow on top, if you bend your hand, it goes automatically into an early vertical forearm or catch position. If you have your elbow on the bottom and you bend your arm, you end up hitting yourself in the face, which isn't quite an effective swimming technique. So we're really looking to try and make sure that the elbow is coming on top, so you can then start catching well. A lot of that will to do with your shoulder flexibility. So you do need to make sure you continue working on the shoulder flexibility, and that will make everything better and easier to bring the elbow on top. But also, when you bring your hand up, the streamlined position work we did to begin with, that will determine how high up your elbow is as well. So the principles of the catch are really straightforward. Palm, flat, elbow on top. And then from there, you're pulling straight through. And that's all we're going to look at for the rest of the session today, that early setup position there. So, with swimming, there's a lot of conversation around, I guess, styles of swimming. You've got the swim and smooths approach, you've got the total immersion approach, total body force approach as well. They all have a different kind of conversation sort of around the recovery aspect of it and how you're using your body and everything to generate propulsion. But actually the principles of the catch are very much the same. The hand kind of goes into that position there, palm down, elbow on top, and pulls. So from there, hand there on top, and pulls. If you click swimming in the classic sort of swimming, pool-based swimming technique, almost catch-up timing, the hand extends through there, through with the elbow on top, catches, and pulls all the way through. So it's all the same, no matter how you're trying to do it there, in that kind of classic swimming pool-based position, or if you're going for more of a swinging style for swim smooth or body force, again the hand comes into that position, elbows on top, pulls through. The movement is the same regardless of what happens to get into it for that catch pre-propulsive stage of it. So when we're in the dry land position, just focus on the movement, try and get used to that movement and seeing it, and you should find it becoming a lot more effective as well. So, the last thing to mention before we start actually picking up some bands and doing a bit more work, although a lot of the stuff we've been doing now is really helpful, the last thing we'll look at is actually where this happens in the stroke, because we're going to do a lot of this stuff now face down, quite flat in the water, but actually, as I was demonstrating a second ago, you're looking at the rotation as well. So notice from this position, I've actually gone into an open shoulder position, in that position there, and the rotation around here almost sets up that catch position there. So there's very little propulsion coming from it, and it's all coming from that sort of rotation. So when you're swimming properly, you'll actually see the rotation is the part which helps move everything around in that catch and generate propulsion. It's not the actual moving of the hand itself. So do take your time with this and make sure that you're actually giving yourself a chance to really catch on and pull press through the water as well. So think about where the rotation comes through. So we're going to first of all start thinking about these arm things here. I've got a set of swim cords. You can use bands or whatever. And all we're just looking at is trying to get that position nice and strong. So we're going to come into a kind of kneeling position onto all fours. We've got a little bit of tension through there, but it doesn't need to be too much. And then from here, I just want you to think about holding on. If you've got band, if you've got a swim paddle, and use the paddle. We're thinking about holding on and keeping that nice and horizontal. So nice and horizontal there whilst moving the elbow on top. So just have to go with that position there and then changing the elbow position a few times. And then from that position, think about moving to the top, or keeping the elbow on top and moving through. We'll try and the couple of them moving through, and then on top. You should see how they're very different movements. So you're trying to keep the elbow on top and move them through. So just think about and work on that position here, just feel it, and just feel how the elbow is nicely on top. And then from that position, you then start your push all the way through. We can bring this in a bit more and actually put something in the middle there to help and get hold of the other one here. So if you've got a second band, you can use the second band as a way of generating a bit of a feel, but actually from that position there, again it's easier if it's a bit higher, from that position there it's the whole of the forearm. So try and put something on the forearm to help pull it, and you can start seeing that actually it's the whole of the forearm which is pulling there, as opposed to just the hand or just the elbow. So you can really get a feel for how that should actually look as you go through. So have a go feeling and moving that small movement in front and getting that elbow on top as best you can. We're then going to look into some sculling. So quite often with sculling, in that front skull position, you have athletes that start thinking about breaststroke hands moving themselves forwards like this, and they don't quite realise it's just a very small movement here, and as you're doing this very small movement, you'll notice the elbows are staying very, very still. So we're going to have a go with sculling. If you want to just do one hand because you're kneeling, that's fine. If you've got this standing, you can do two hands. What we look at, a bit of tension, and just feel that sculling position. But you're looking at keeping the elbow nice and still. Notice how still the elbow is and how my arm is still able to move in all sorts of different directions, but the palm is still pointing generally backwards. So you're able to do that. You can then start up there and slowly bring it back. So classically a falling leaves type sculling, where you're going from that position all the way to the back, but you're just going to stop at the end of the skull, number one position, or where the skull is beneath the elbow as well. So from there to there. Really focusing on keeping the elbow nice and still as you go through. From there, we can start moving into a little bit more motion. So let's go from that skull position into more of a doggy paddle. And this, you may want to use both paddles. So from there, notice it's that position, the elbow is nice and controlled, just about here. I'm not pulling through, so I'm making sure that the hand catches the elbow and they move back together. So just there. So it's very much in line with your shoulders, not any further. And because of that line with the shoulders, we're making sure, this vision, from here, we're pulling to about that position here. And notice what I mean about the elbow drag. If you're pulling here, I can pull with the elbow and pull that position here. That's the same movement, but that's not in terms of moving the hand, but it's not the movement we're trying to provide. We're trying to get from that position, elbow on top, and then pull to that position there. Notice that the elbow is there, the hand is nicely beneath it. Why are we doing that? Because from that position, you can push really effectively down on there. If you're in this position, elbow to there, you have to scoop. You have to lever and pivot around that elbow. You can't generate the same amount of power. So from there, push. From there, push. So we're working on this a little bit here, just to get hand set up there, to that position, and back again. So you're going to go through that a few times in that kind of doggy paddle movement. And then you really want to think about that elbow as you do it. So when you do that doggy paddle motion through each one, think about how far you can point with your elbow off down the pool or down up along your band as well as you go along. So you really want to think about kind of pointing there. Now what happens when you start pointing is you start getting a little bit of that rotation happening again. So point, point. I can point more easily over there if I've rotated my shoulders more. So really focus on that pointing position again.
using the band, so point each time. Again, this is a little bit easier to do from a standing position, but you can certainly do it from that position as well. The last thing, which I can't demonstrate from that angle, but I'm going to be quite careful of, is that when you're coming head on with a camera, or head on with water, you're not pulling across. So notice, my elbow is still out with my hands, but from this position, I'm actually cutting across my body. So you want to make sure this pulls straight back. So you imagine you've got the hand there, you're trying to put something almost into your pocket, and it's that kind of motion which is what you're looking at trying to achieve. So it's not from there and cut across. From there, cut across, it's there, into the pocket, into the pocket. If you're there, straight into the pocket. That position there. And that will really help improve your awareness of the catch as you go along. So this session today is just looking at that pre-propulsive stage of the catch mechanics. Nothing more, nothing less. We're not looking at trying to really push out the back. It's all about setting yourself up. Because remember, if you can get into this position here, the only thing you can do is drive really effectively and extend nicely to the back end of your stroke. And if you're strong in the core, which we'll work on as well, all that comes together. It becomes a very effortless movement that you can just keep on ticking over. And that is true no matter what style of front core swimming stroke you have, and even if you start looking at butterfly as well.